The most dangerous threats to your success aren't your competitors, the economy, or lack of resources. They're much closer to home. They're the subtle, insidious dream killers that live in your mind, whispering reasons why you should play it safe. Aim lower, wait for the perfect moment. In this video, I'll walk you through a systematic approach to identifying and eliminating these inner saboteurs. If you've been working hard but still feel stuck, this could be the missing piece. The explanation for why talent and hard work haven't translated into the results you deserve. You're working harder than ever, yet you still feel miles away from your goals. Do you wake up earlier, stay up later, optimize your calendar? But between your effort and your results persists. This disconnect isn't random or some cruel twist of fate. It's manufactured by specific psychological mechanisms designed with one purpose: to keep you exactly where you are. Let me introduce you to the 6 silent dream killers, invisible saboteurs operating beneath your conscious awareness. These aren't external obstacles like lack of resources or opportunities. They're internal barriers disguised as rational thoughts and practical considerations. They whisper seemingly helpful advice that actually undermines your progress at every turn. The most dangerous aspect? You've internalized these voices so deeply that you believe they're your own wisdom. What makes these dream killers particularly insidious is how they masquerade as protective wisdom. Your brain evolved primarily to keep you alive, not to help you thrive or transform. It's wired to protect you from 3 fundamental threats: risk, uncertainty, and social rejection. Yet these very elements, the willingness to take risks, embrace uncertainty, and risk rejection, are precisely what meaningful growth requires. Your biological safety mechanisms have become the very barriers to your advancement. Take perfectionism, the first dream killer. It presents itself as a commitment to excellence, but it's actually a sophisticated form of procrastination. Perfectionism isn't about high standards. It's about avoiding judgment. When you refuse to ship that project until it's perfect, you're not pursuing excellence. You're avoiding the vulnerability of having your work evaluated. Neuroscience shows that the same brain regions activate when experiencing perfectionism as when experiencing anxiety. Your perfectionism isn't pushing you toward greatness. It's protecting you from potential criticism. Your comfort zone, another powerful dream killer, becomes increasingly toxic as your goals become more ambitious. Research in behavioral psychology reveals that we instinctively retreat to familiar patterns when facing uncertainty, even when those patterns no longer serve us. This creates an invisible ceiling on your potential. The neural pathways formed through repetition become so efficient that your brain automatically defaults to them, especially under stress. This isn't weakness. It's your brain's energy conservation system working against your conscious desires. The opinions of others function as perhaps the most powerful dream killer. Because humans are fundamentally social creatures, we're hardwired for acceptance. Our ancestors' survival depended on group inclusion. This biological reality means criticism registers in your brain similarly to physical pain. Every innovation in history faced initial rejection. Yet our primitive neural wiring interprets that criticism as a survival threat rather than a necessary step toward transformation. Your brain doesn't distinguish between social rejection and physical danger, triggering the same stress response for both. When you tell yourself, I'm just being realistic, you've encountered another dream killer. What feels like practical decision-making often masks your deepest fears. Cognitive scientists call this rationalization. The mind's ability to create logical-sounding justifications for emotionally driven decisions. You're not making a sound assessment of possibilities. You're creating a narrative that protects you from confronting the uncertainty of change. These dream killers aren't just occasional obstacles that appear at random. They form an interconnected system that maintains your current identity, even when that identity no longer serves your aspirations. Psychologists call this identity homeostasis, or subconscious resistance to becoming someone new, even when you consciously desire change. This explains why temporary motivation fades so quickly, and why most transformation attempts eventually revert to baseline. The first step to neutralizing these dream killers is recognizing that they exist not as external barriers, but as internal protection mechanisms. These psychological safeguards once served you, perhaps protecting you from childhood disappointments or past failures. But now they limit you. They're outdated security systems responding to threats that no longer exist. While most personal development focuses on building new habits and skills, what if the real breakthrough comes from subtraction rather than addition? The strategic elimination framework flips conventional wisdom on its head, revealing why your past efforts may have strengthened the very dream killers you've been trying to overcome. Traditional self-help approaches concentrate on adding more discipline, more strategy, more tools, without addressing the underlying systems actively working against your progress. If you think about it, when you hit resistance, what's your instinct? Work harder, push through, double down. This approach seems logical, but psychologically, it often backfires. When you fight directly against these internal protection mechanisms, you inadvertently reinforce them. It's like trying to put out a fire by throwing more wood on it. Each time you push harder without addressing the root cause, you create a predictable cycle. Initial progress, increasing resistance, and then regression back to your starting point, or worse. The strategic elimination framework operates on an entirely different principle. Instead of adding more complexity to your already overwhelmed system, it focuses on systematic removal of internal barriers. The process begins with exposure, consciously bringing your subconscious saboteurs into the light. This isn't merely positive thinking, it's strategic confrontation. When these hidden mechanisms become visible, they immediately begin losing their grip. What operates powerfully in darkness often dissolves when exposed to conscious awareness. Consider what this means for your past failures. Those moments weren't evidence of your inadequacy. They were simply the predictable result of unidentified dream killers operating in your mental background. The failed business venture, the abandoned creative project, the relationship that didn't work out, these weren't reflections of your capability, but of powerful subconscious forces you hadn't yet learned to neutralize. Even more fascinating is how self-doubt transforms when viewed through this framework. What previously appeared as an obstacle becomes a sophisticated decision-making tool. The key distinction lies in separating legitimate caution from fear-based resistance. Legitimate caution sounds like I need more information before proceeding, while fear-based resistance disguises itself as this probably won't work for someone like me. Learning to differentiate between these voices creates an internal compass that guides you through uncertainty rather than avoiding it. The framework consists of 3 critical steps. First, identification, giving precise names to the specific fears and limiting beliefs operating beneath your awareness. Vague awareness, I feel stuck, creates vague results, while specific identification, I'm avoiding judgment by never completing my projects, creates precise intervention point. Second, examination, tracing each dream killer to its origin and supposed protective purpose. Many of these mechanisms formed during childhood or past traumas as legitimate protection that now limits rather than serves you. Third, strategic replacement, substituting each limiting pattern with an empowering alternative that preserves the original protective intention while removing its limiting effects. What makes this approach particularly powerful is its alignment with current psychological research. Studies consistently show that subtraction produces more significant results than addition when pursuing transformative goals. Why? Because removing friction from your path eliminates the need for constant willpower, which numerous studies have proven is a finite resource that depletes with use. Rather than forcing yourself to overcome resistance through sheer determination, you systematically eliminate the sources of that resistance. The compound effect of this approach extends far beyond your initial target area. These dream killers share common psychological roots, creating an interconnected system throughout your life. When you effectively remove one, you'll notice unexpected improvements in seemingly unrelated domains. The perfectionism blocking your career advancement might also be what's preventing meaningful connections in your relationships. The fear of criticism holding back your creative projects might be the same mechanism limiting your financial risk tolerance. Dressing one effectively creates ripple effects throughout your entire life. Most importantly, understand that breakthrough moments typically occur just beyond the point where most people abandon their efforts. This is precisely when dream killers become most active and persuasive. They throw everything they have at you when you're closest to transformation, because that's when your current identity faces the greatest threat of change. Recognizing this pattern allows you to interpret increased resistance not as evidence you should quit, but as confirmation you're getting closer to meaningful transformation. As we reach the end of our journey together, I want you to consider something profound. What if everything you need is already within you, just waiting to be uncovered? We've spent our lives accumulating strategies, techniques, and methods. But transformation rarely comes from addition. It comes from strategic removal. Your dream killers weren't maliciously planted. They emerged as protection mechanisms during vulnerable moments in your life. They served you once, but now they're artifacts of outdated survival strategies. The question has never been about your potential or capability. It's about your willingness to look unflinchingly at what's truly been holding you back all this time.